Nigerian women in power, a hidden history. Nigerian women have never been mere bystanders in history. Long before colonial borders or modern politics, women from every corner of what is now Nigeria wielded cultural, economic, spiritual, and political authority. Before colonial scholars arrived with Victorian assumptions, women in Nigeria held genuine authority and influence. In fact, historians affirm that women were active change agents in pre-colonial Nigeria. In Yoruba lands, Igbo village states, the Hausa Fulani Emirates, and even smaller kingdoms like Benin, women were chiefs, traders, priestesses, and warriors. They not only represented women's interests, but often steered politics, trade, and religion. These facts challenge any one-size-fits-all image of universal female subordination. In fact, in pre-colonial societies, many Nigerian women enjoyed status roughly equal to men. Their influence ranged from grassroots market councils to royal palaces. Over time, they adapted to colonial rule and even shaped the post-colonial era. We explore this rich story of women's power, naming real figures and local traditions to show how Nigerian women have always been active agents of change, not passive victims of oppression. Kings, queens, and chiefs, pre-colonial authority. Long before Europeans arrived, many Nigerian societies recognized female powers in striking ways. Among the Yoruba southwestern Nigeria, for example, women held formal titles and wealth. A Yoruba Iyalode, sometimes called Oba Obirin, king of the women, was a female high-ranking chief whose voice was equal to senior male chiefs. The Iyalode represented all women and served as a political advisor to the king. In Egbaland, for instance, Iyalode Madam Efushetan Aniwura of Ibadan in the 1870s ran a vast trading empire in ivory, tobacco, and slaves. She even maintained a personal militia. Historian Banji Akintoye notes that she had about 2,000 slaves and musket-bearing guards and was one of the richest people in Yoruba land in the late 1870s. Tinubu even helped install kings and led resistance against outsiders' domination. In Lagos, talking about Madam Efunroyi Tinubu in 1887, another powerful Iyalode who traded with European merchants across West Africa and controlled Lagos politics. By the mid 1800s, her business reached beyond Lagos into the Yoruba hinterland, and she was reputed to have 360 slaves who carried out her businesses on her behalf. These women played roles as big as many male chiefs or nobles. Indeed, as a 19th century magazine put it, no matter how powerful an Oba may be, he can never be an Iyalode. Also in Lagos, the royal Erelu Kuti Queen Mother was and remains a powerful office. A historical line descends from the 18th century royalty, and today the Erelu ranks third in Lagos's order of precedence. Notably, the Erelu Kuti even serves as regent when the Oba's stool is vacant, underscoring how a woman can hold supreme authority in Yoruba tradition. In many Igbo communities, southeast Nigeria, the social order was dual gendered. Villages often had men's council and separate women's council. Scholar Gloria Chukwu writes that many Igbo societies had women's courts and female-run market authorities as parallel institutions. The leading woman, known as the Omo, literally mother of society, held rank just below a king, and Omo might come from a royal lineage, and she even maintained a palace and regal court. In Igbo tradition, the Omo served as the chairman of the Council of Mothers and reigned beside the king, having royal, military, religious, and administrative functions. The most famous was Omo Nwagboka of Onisha. In 1884, she signed treaties with the British as an equal party, the only woman's signature on that colonial contract. In the 20th century, Felicia Okwe of Osumari continued this tradition, a huge trader. She was crowned Omo, Queen of a city in 1935 and became one of Nigeria's wealthiest women. Beyond individual queens, Igbo women collectively wielded power through organizations like the Umuada, known as the group of daughters of the lineage. The Umuada could convene councils to adjudicate family disputes and enforce social norms. Scholars note that the Umuada weighed the power of finality in family and village affairs. Historically, they were one of the most organized, peaceful, and endowed women groups in Nigeria. In other words, Igbo women's institutions were genuine levers of social authority. In the Hausa Fulani North, too, women could rule. The legendary Queen Amina of Zazzau, now Zaria, was a 16th century warrior queen who led military campaigns for over 3 decades. Favored by her family, by age 16, Amina was made heir to her father's chiefdom and even trained tens of bodyguards. When her brother became king, Amina joined his army. Chronicles say she distinguished herself as a leading warrior in his cavalry. Eventually, Amina was recognized as ruler herself. According to historical accounts, she led her first military charge a few months after assuming power, and for the rest of her 34-year reign, continued to fight and expand her kingdom, commanding armies of thousands of men. Amina's conquest extended Zazzau to dominate regional trade, and she even built the famous earthen walls of Amina around conquered cities. She became legendary in Hausa lore as Amina, daughter of Nikatao, woman as capable as a man, and she is credited with expanding Zazzau to its great extent. Other northern states had Sorania queen or inner offices. For example, in Gobir, the inner was the female head of state appointed by the king and drawn from the royal lineage. When the king was not around, she collected taxes from guilds and artisans, acted as regent when the king was not around. Ina had real power and was even regarded as a warrior ready for battle. In the forest kingdoms, power also flowed through mothers and queens. In Benin, modern Edo State, King Esige, in 1504 to 1550, created the title of Iyoba, Queen Mother, for his mother Idia, due to her vital role in his wars. Idia's counsel and mystical remedies helped Esige defeat rivals and conquer neighboring lands. To honor her, Esige granted Idia her own palace, retinue, and political office. The Metropolitan Museum notes that Idia's image became a revered art form, signifying how her successors were seen as guardians of the kingdom. From then on, Benin's Iyobas had power nearly equal to senior chiefs in court ceremonies, they were even wearing ivory masks akin to the king's, symbolizing the queen mother's office. In all these traditions, women's offices were more than ceremonial. They shared the throne with kings or prince consorts, shared foreign policies, and mobilized forces. This example shows how pre-colonial Nigerian women at the top of society, trading magnates, title chiefs, war leaders, and royal advisors, in many cases, they exercised direct economic, political, and spiritual authority on par with men. They could found empires, build trade empires, and even dethrone rulers. Colonial upheaval and female resistance. When Europeans imposed colonial rule in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, many of these indigenous structures were upended or undermined, and they often tried to strip African women of power. The British colonial policy of indirect rule relied on male chiefs sidelining the indigenous system that women had used. In Igbo land, for example, British warrant chiefs took over governance, replacing women's almost structures. Similarly, in southern Nigeria, male-appointed native authorities assumed control, but Nigerian women did not meekly submit. Across the regions, they led some of the earliest and most dramatic protests against colonial authorities. One example is the 1929 Aba Women's War called Ogo Umuwanyi in Igbo. In the Owerri and Calabar provinces of colonial eastern Nigeria, thousands of Igbo women banded together to resist oppressive policies. Initially angered by rumors that a new British census would lead to unfair taxes on women, the women rebelled. On November 24, 1929, they held a massive sitting on a man protest, an all-night vigil of songs and dances outside the district office, openly mocking and humiliating the officials. Within days, 10,000 women had joined. Next, They attacked British courts and symbols of colonial power, burning down administrative offices and arresting warrant chiefs. By December, they forced many warrant chiefs to publicly surrender their symbols of authority, their caps and staffs, effectively overthrowing the unpopular system. The women's campaign succeeded. The colonial government abolished the warrant chiefs in those areas. At least 50 women were killed in the repression, but the Aba movement remains celebrated as a female-led anti-colonial victory. This women's war was the first major challenge to British authority in Nigeria and one of the West Africa's earliest anti-colonial offsprings led by women from multiple ethnic groups, Igbo, Ibibio, Andoni, Boni, Opobo, and others. Far to the west, Yoruba women also mounted large-scale protests under colonialism. In Abeokuta, the capital of Egbaland, in the 1940s, market women and educated mothers organized under the leadership of Fumilayo Ransom Kuti. Ransom Kuti had founded the Abeokuta Ladies Club and later the Abeokuta Women's Union, AWO, to fight colonial era injustices. When the local king, Ademola, imposed a special tax on behalf of the British on women, tens of thousands of Abeokuta women marched in citywide protests from 1947 onwards. For 9 months, they boycotted courts, sang satirical songs, and wrote letters to the colonial government. Eventually, their demonstration forced Obademola to temporarily abdicate in 1949. Tax policy was reformed, and 4 women won seats in the council. In short, the Abeokuta revolt won concrete gains like tax reductions, an end to exploitative water levies, and awakening of national politics years before Nigeria's 1960 independence. Ransom Kuti's union soon expanded into the National Women's Federation. Under her guidance, the Abeokuta women not only won tax repeal, they also demanded education and sanitary improvements for women and girls. Ransome Kuti later became one of Nigeria's first female political candidates. Her story underscores how Yoruba women mobilized en masse to challenge colonial authority, not just at local markets, but by shaking the throne itself. As one historian observes, these women made clear they would not wait for their political and economic rights to be bestowed on them. Across Nigeria, other women followed suit. Similarly, in Lagos in the 1930s, Alimatu Pelewura rallied market women to oppose new taxes and market regulations that targeted them. As founder of the Lagos Market Women's Association, Alimatu organized protests that forced colonial authorities to rethink their policies. She worked closely with other nationalist women leaders, even co-founding the Abeokuta's Women's Union with Ransom Kuti to ensure women's demands were heard on the nationalist stage. The message was clear. If the colonial state tried to silence women's collective voice, the women would unite and strike back. In the North, the impact of colonial rule on women was complex. Traditional offices like Ina or Magagia were initially ignored by the British, who dealt only with male emirs and councils. But northern women found other ways to assert themselves. Educated Muslim women, for example, formed clubs to promote girls' education and local welfare. And there were protests. In the 1930s and 1940s, Muslim women in towns like Kano and Castina petitioned colonial courts for better treatment and protested price controls. By the 1950s, an all Nigerian women's body, such as the Nigerian Council of Women's Societies, emerged with branches in the north to lobby on issues like civil rights and maternity care. Please remember to subscribe. Also in the northern region, Hajiya Gambo Sawaba in 1933 to 2001 became a fiery activist against both colonial and traditional restrictions. A school teacher's daughter from Kano, Sawaba joined the Progressive Labour Party in the 1950s and campaigned for women's education, voting rights, and against unfair taxes. Because she took campaigns directly to women, including those observing street fooder, she drew the eye of the authorities. Between 1952 and Nigeria's independence, she was imprisoned 16 times and publicly flogged for activism. In one incident, northern officials shaved her hair with a broken bottle and sentenced her to jail for simply encouraging women to vote. yet Sawaba pressed on, earning the nickname the most jailed female politician. Her career shows even in the staunchly patriarchal North, a courageous woman could become a political force. Meanwhile, in the East, Chief Margaret Ekpo in 1914 to 2006 worked at the grassroots to empower market women. In 1945, she helped organize a market women's association in Aba, uniting thousands of traders to demand economic and political rights. Ekpo later became a respected legislator and senior member of Nigeria's first federal parliament. Her approach mirrored those of our Western and Northern counterparts, mobilize ordinary women's network in markets, churches, social clubs, and others to advance women's causes. Thus, through colonial rule, Nigerian women repeatedly translated community-based authority into political action. In every region, there were moments when the absence of female voices became impossible to ignore. There were community leaders as well as national figures, whether by leading boycotts of unfair laws or even snapping the political order. The collective actions of Nigerian women forced the colonial states to reckon with them, proving again that power in Nigeria was not a male monopoly. They defended their traditional authority and expanded it into the national sphere. Independence and modern legacy. Nigeria gained independence in 1960, but even as a new nation built male centered institutions, many women retained influence. For example, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti and Margaret Ekpo helped draft the constitution and continued in politics. Traditional titles for women like the Yellow Day and almost survived in many areas. After the independence in 1960, women continued breaking barriers in business, academia, culture, and politics. In education, pioneers like Grace Alele Williams, born in Warri, Delta State, shattered academic ceilings. Alele Williams became Nigeria's first woman to earn a doctorate in mathematics, and in 1985 became the first female vice chancellor of a Nigerian university, which is the University of Benin. Her tenure promoted girls in science and even introduced teaching programs for adult women, reflecting a lifelong commitment to women's empowerment. In business and finance, Nigerian women also reached the top ranks. Oil magnate Folorunsho Alakija became Africa's richest woman and was listed among Forbes' 100 most powerful women, illustrating how entrepreneurs can wield massive economic influence. In banking, Ibukun Awoshika became the first female chairman of First Bank of Nigeria in 2015. She is an entrepreneur, governance expert, and co-founder of WinBiz, Women in Business Group, showing how women now lead major corporations. Across industries from tech startups to the creative arts, women like TV mogul Mo Abudu and Chioma Ajunwa, an Olympic champion turned sports administrator, have become public figures and decision makers, inspiring younger generations. Economist Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala became the country's finance minister twice under President Obasanjo and Jonathan, and managing budgets of over $30 billion, and in 2021 was elected Director General of the World Trade Organization, becoming the first woman and the first African Director General of the World Trade Organization. Her appointment made international headlines as a symbol of Nigeria's competence on the world stage. Likewise, Amina J. Mohammed, hailing from northern Nigeria, served as Nigeria's Minister of Environment and later Minister of Foreign Affairs before being appointed in 2017 as Deputy Secretary General of the United States. She now chairs UN development efforts worldwide. The Igbo activist and former education minister Obiageli Obiekwesili, once head of Nigeria's Anti-Corruption Commission, has become known as Madam Due Process for her meticulous advocacy of good governance. This women's prominence shows a stark contrast to stereotypes. Under democratically elected government since 1999, Nigeria has seen female senators, governors, advisors, ambassadors, and board chairs rise to influence national policy. At the grassroots, market women remain central to the economy. Many Nigerian women have reached the pinnacle of leadership and continue to defeat global stereotypes. Beyond individuals, post independence Nigeria has developed institutions to support women's agency. Organizations like the National Council of Women's Societies (NCWS), founded in the 1950s, and the Federation of Muslim Women's Societies (Form 1), gave women collective platforms for education, health, and advocacy. Meanwhile, traditional institutions have slowly revived some women's roles. For example, Umuada associations continue to convene in many Igbo communities to resolve disputes and organize development projects, showing that the pre-colonial spirit of female councils endures. Market queens, Iyaloja positions persist in cities like Lagos and Port Harcourt, where a leading female merchant coordinates market affairs, heir to the mantle of those early yellow days and almost. Fast forward, during Nigeria's military regime, while some advancements were made, women were largely sidelined from significant government roles and political activities. Despite their success in academia and professions, their political involvement was minimal, which was expected under military rule. The transition to democracy in 1999 marked an increase in women's visibility and appreciation in public life. Justice Aloma Mariam Mukhtar's career was groundbreaking. With President Obasanjo's support, she became the first female Supreme Court justice in 2005 and the first female Chief Justice of Nigeria in 2012. Mariam Babangida is particularly noteworthy for her dignified and purposeful approach as First Lady. Her Better Life program significantly enhanced family planning, health, and economic opportunities for rural women, setting a benchmark for future First Ladies. There is a growing demand for stronger affirmative action and broader representation from women in Nigerian politics, as no woman has yet been elected governor, despite many serving as ministers, deputy governors, and even governors acting governors. Dame Virginia Ngozi Etiaba was Nigeria's first female governor, serving in Anambra State in 2006 after Governor Peter Obi's impeachment, before returning to the position to him when the impeachment was reversed. Before this, she had a 35-year career in education. On the global stage, Nigerian women have shone brightly. Agbani Darego was crowned Miss World in 2001, while Oluchi Onweagba was the first African to win the Face of Africa in 1998. Mercy Akide was the first woman to receive the African Women's Footballer of the Year in 2001, also leading the scoring at the Women's Cup. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie has achieved significant recognition for her literary works, including winning major awards for novels such as Popular Hibiscus and Americana. She has also gained prominence through her impactful TED Talks, notably discussing feminism and the concept of single stories. Additionally, she was honored with a MacArthur Genius Grant. Adichie's writings often explore Nigerian identity and race, and she has authored several highly praised books, establishing herself as a leading figure in cultural commentary and feminist discourse. What about the aviation milestones? Captain Chinyere Kalu is noted for being the first Nigerian woman to become a commercial pilot, earning her license in 1978 after training at the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology (NCAT) in Zaria. She also made history as the first female rector of NCAT, breaking significant gender barriers. Lieutenant Chamfe Maigari marked a historic achievement as the first female pilot in the Nigerian Navy since its inception in 1964. This milestone was celebrated on December 13, 2024 at the Nigerian Navy Ceremonial Sunset and Awards Night at the Naval Training Command Headquarters in Ebube, Eleme, Rivers State. Additionally, Lieutenant Kafayat Sani became Nigeria's first female fighter pilot, joining the ranks of pioneering women who have brought pride to the nation. In politics, Alhaji Sinotu Aderoju Ojikutu was the first female deputy governor in Nigeria, serving in Lagos State from 1992 to 1993. In music, Sade Adu was the first Nigerian woman to win a Grammy in 1986, although her British Nigerian heritage sometimes sparks debate. Thames, considered by some as the first full Nigerian female artist to win a Grammy, did so in 2023 for her feature on Future's Wait for You, and received another nomination in 2024 in the Afrobeat category. In film, Genevieve Nnaji made history as the first Nigerian actress to win an AMAA for Best Actress in 2005 and directed Lionheart for the first Nigerian film on Netflix and Nigeria's first Oscar submission. In contemporary Nigeria, several states have had female deputy governors, including Ofo Bokno Akerele in Lagos, Kaletawa Baruta in Adamawa, and others. Dr. Maria Mohammed was appointed Minister of State for the Federal Capital Territory in 2003, and Chinyere Ekomaru is the current deputy governor of Imo State. Past female deputy governors include Virginia Etiaba, Idiat Oluranti Adebule, Ipalibo Banigo, Yetunde Ononuga, and Cecilia Izelo. Kemi Adeosun served as finance minister under President Buhari, played a key role in navigating Nigeria's economy out of recession post the oil price drop. Under the Tinubu administration, women like Iman Sulaiman Ibrahim, Anatu Musa Musawa, Doris Uzoka Aniti, and Nkiruka Onyejocha hold significant positions, highlighting the ongoing need for increased female representation across all governance levels. In conclusion, Nigerian women have profoundly influenced the nation's history from pre-colonial times to the present, acting as leaders in various spheres. This legacy counters the notion of universal female powerlessness, showing that Nigerian women have historically been active participants in power structures, not mere observers. Today's female leaders continue to build on this legacy, proving that women's power in Nigeria is deeply rooted and enduring. If any woman information is missing, please reach out to us. To be continued, please share and subscribe.
There are many women from various sectors, ranging from art to science, spirituality to politics, who have made significant contributions. However, due to time constraints, we need to streamline our list. We will explore this topic further in our future publications. Truly, there are still many women who are underrepresented, and the issue of affirmative action remains unresolved, complicated by ethnic, religious, socioeconomic, and societal factors. But here at Confidential History Channel, we will continue to use our platform to educate the public on these subjects. Together, we can build a formidable society.